Hi, welcome to Bar Cart Bookshelf, a video series about books and the drinks they inspire. My name is Elias, and today we're talking about The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw. The Library at Hellebore is Khaw's most recent novel. As longtime viewers of Bar Cart Bookshelf will know, I have to be very careful about when I read a Cassandra Khaw book because I know every single time I'm gonna get a drink. It's just, there's someone who, as an author, is so evocative with their use of language and just so thrilling and exciting that I can't help but think about flavors and connections and all of that sort of thing. And The Library at Hellebore was no exception. Fans, if you're new, you should go back and check out our recipes for The All-Consuming World, for The Salt Grows Heavy, for The Devil Takes the A Train. We've got a nice long history here of reading Cass Khaw and finding great drinks. Nothing but the Blackened Teeth as well, so a lot there if you're building out a menu. As I said, The Library at Hellebore is Khaw's latest novel. It's a sort of dark academia magic school book set at an institution known as Hellebore, where we begin, first we find our main character, Alessa Lee, just coated in blood, and the corpse of her roommate beside her, and then she's swept along to the commencement ceremony for the university, or this institution, where all of a sudden the faculty members begin to devour the student body. So really not the best way to go out into the world as this like fully fledged calamity of magical proportions. But Alessa and several of the graduating students flee with great haste and find themselves holed up over the course of 3 days in the library of the institution, doing battle with their own dark impulses and tenuous loyalties, and dealing with the sort of encroaching threat of the faculty members who will absorb them into this deliciously fleshy glop and goop, one thing that I really enjoy in Khaw's work is this, like, lovingly and lush description of, like, body horror and gore, and it's not the sort of thing that I like otherwise, but there's this sort of poetic and rich quality to the prose that I just, I can't resist. And so just drenched in like entrails and goop and, very, very Gwyneth Paltrow of it all, because it's goopy. But just a delight in that, and told in this really clever and exciting structural way where we're ping-ponging or yo-yoing back between the past at the beginning of the tenure at Hellebore and the present moment, and building these tensions and building these sorts of relationships all together while keeping that very tense and tight and sort of propulsive pacing there. Is a book that I read in about, 2 or so reading sessions, just gobbled it right on up, read half one evening and read half a second evening, because that was just like, I need to bring it in. And just a real atmospheric, dreamlike explosion of a book, much like this sort of calamitous power that Alessa has, which sort of unmakes the body in this sort of gruesome, explosive, destructive way. And so, of course, as I said, we had to have a drink. Our drink is the Fig Wasp. The Fig Wasp and the fig are sort of emblems that are used in Hellebore. And we ask the question, you know, because when a fig is being made, it's pollinated by a fig wasp, but the wasp gets trapped in the fig and sort of dissolves in the enzymes of the nascent fruit. And so we have this question, are you the fig or are you the wasp? So something to think about there. And we're going to start by rimming a glass. So we will get some kosher salt and get that in a little dish plate like so. Just a nice, and get that sort of spread around. Set our salt aside. And then we will get a damp paper towel. You can do this with a citrus peel. You can do this any number of ways, but I just always really like a damp paper towel for getting an even coating on the rim of our glass, and then rolling that in the salt that we prepared. So, lovely. Getting a nice even coat on the rim of our glass. Perfect. Just like so. So I set that aside and set the glass aside and continue to build our cocktail. We're going to start, because it's the Fig Wasp, I'm going to do a little bit of an inversion and have our primary spirit be a liqueur, a sweet sort of alcohol made with dried figs. This is a homemade liqueur that I make with dried figs, sugar, and vodka. You just let it, sit for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe give it a taste as you go, and you're going to get that really rich, mellow, caramely, dried fruit quality along with a nice bit of sweetness. It's one that I enjoy, here as we're getting some summer finishing up, and one that I really love as the weather starts to cool and I'm feeling those fall vibes. So we're going to get 1.5 ounces of fig liqueur into our mixing glass. As you can see, this dark, rich, heady color there. And then, to toughen things up a bit, I'm going to get 3/4 ounce of Scotch whiskey. I'm using the Bowmore 12-year, which plays well with others, so I like to use it in cocktails. And it plays well with others, unlike the cast of the library at Hellebore, who do not get along. We've got people who can speak compulsions. We have a son of the devil who may be the Antichrist. We have a death worker whose very touch brings this sort of creeping rot. So, funky things going on there. You have a Haruspex who reads the future on his own entrails and heals back from that. Just very cool, very creepy magic, all unified by these characters being the sort who can bring about the end of the world, who are tremendously destructive and involved in these cycles of destruction and resurrection and compulsion all together. And you can smell that smokiness of the Scotch along with the dried fruit of the fig here. Then we'll add, to just lighten things up a little bit, we'll add 1/2 ounce of dry vermouth. Perfect. And then finally, we only ever use a little bit because it can be quick to overpower things, 1/4 ounce of absinthe. I'm using the St. George absinthe here. Lovely. Perfect. And we'll add our ice. We always add our ice last because sometimes we get on to talking about the strange and powerful magics of the students at the Hellebore Institute, and we don't want to do that while there's ice in there and we're not stirring, because our ice is immediately cooking our cocktail. It's immediately starting to melt and dilute, and we certainly wouldn't want to end up with a weak cocktail. Not when we need the sting of that fig wasp, and we need all the power we can get to survive this encounter. Really just very neat survival horror, goopy, gory magic, commentary on, academic exploitation, and what it means to be institutionalized. Just delicious, delicious, good food. And we will stir until our ice and our liquid are at about in equilibrium, maybe 20 seconds or so. Set our spoon aside, get our handy dandy julep strainer, whoop, and strain into our prepared glass. Perfect. And there you have it. This is the Fig Wasp inspired by the Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw. The Library at Hellebore is available now. I've got a link to snag it in the description down below, as well as links to various social media, including Blue Sky and Instagram, where there's always a written version of today's recipe. We got a link to snag my book. So many links. Cocktails and Consoles, 75 cocktails and mocktails to level up your game night, all inspired by video games, including some survival horrors that you might enjoy if you have a lot of fun with the Library at Hellebore. You know, this sort of like Dead by Daylight vibe going on here. All right, try the drink. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hit that like button. It makes me so happy when you do. Subscribe if you haven't already so you never miss an episode, because we've got a lot of great books that we'll be talking about in September. We're talking about horror now, and we haven't even gotten to spooky season yet. It's coming. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to share with all of y'all. And until next time, cheers.